The league is in trouble. The Spurs had their first media day, and all signs point to the right direction for the Spurs. It is looking like playoffs or bust for this San Antonio Spurs team. And I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, there's plenty of things to back up this theory that I have that the Spurs will at least be fighting for a play-in spot this year with all the moves they made. What's good, Spurs family? I am Bryan Colbert Jr., and I am here for Spurs Digest. It is so great to be a part of this, man. We're having so much fun. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, man. We do this for you guys. We appreciate all the comments, the interaction. I see a lot of my Spurs family from back when I was in San Antonio in the comments, man. I appreciate y'all and love you guys. And we're going to keep rocking, man, because we are almost at the season, which means we got our first Spurs Media Day. Now, I want to go down the top things we got to see from Spurs Media. There's three things that I think make you excited, that make you ready for this season because of the way the guys are talking. Now, we know what media days are like, right? We know that it's a lot of dry questions. A lot of reporters just want to hear themselves talk during these things, and the players are just trying to go through the motions. However, I'd like to look at these things and try to find things that actually matter within these conversations, things we can take away from our Spurs Media Day. So the first one, it's apparent the impact Chris Paul is having on this team. Every single person that came up, of course, was asked about Chris Paul, but also talked about him very, very highly and the role and the leader he was going to play. It seems as if Chris Paul has come in and really changed the identity of this team. He even said it when he was doing his interviews. We have been working out 3 to 4 times a week. We have a group chat where we've all gotten together, and it's just been basketball, basketball, basketball. Chris Paul did not come here to not compete. He said it himself. He's left his family. His family is not in San Antonio with him. He came here to compete and get a championship. And that is the only reason why he would be away from his family. So that alone makes you excited, right? But you want to hear about what the other guys had to say about him. And of course, we have to first hear from our fearless leader, Coach Gregg Popovich. Now, here's what Gregg Popovich had to say about Chris Paul and the other veterans he's brought in. You can all answer that yourselves. He's going to be a great mentor for our young guys. It's important in a player's development. These guys, for the most part, haven't really had that. Even Victor. Obviously, he's super talented, but he needs that also. Chris and Harrison Barnes both provide that. I can even quantify how important that'll be for all of our young players. And Popovich is absolutely right. Look at the veterans that Wemby had that first year. I mean, it wasn't a lot. It's a lot of really young guys. Like, I mean, his point guard was a second-year guy. And then Tre Jones was only, a third or fourth-year guy. Blake Wesley, all of these guys is very, very young. So now you put in one of the oldest players in the league, but also still very, very efficient. And you have to be excited about that, right? You have to look at a guy like Chris Paul and say he is the best player Wemby has played with as of yet, and that a lot of these guys have played with as of yet. Not too long ago, Keldon was the big vet. Not too long ago, Devin Vassell was our best scorer. Like, these things are not very far away from reality that we faced. But, you look at guys like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes and you say, okay, this leadership that they bring, this ability to know how to win basketball games is so paramount. It's so huge. And it's showing throughout the guys. I mean, you even look at Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson gave up a number he's been wearing his whole NBA career, because as soon as Chris Paul comes in, he understands that Chris Paul has done everything he can to earn that number 3. And Keldon is just bowed down to it. He even said it himself that he's one of my role models growing up. I feel like it was the ultimate sign of respect being able to give him my number. And like, yes, it seems small. Like, yes, it's Chris Paul. Of course, Keldon has to give it to him. However, there wasn't talks of having to do a donation. There wasn't, oh, give me this amount of money. It wasn't that. It was, hey, Chris Paul, listen, you're one of my idols. You're one of my favorite players growing up. Here, I have this jersey, and just know I'm going to be watching everything. And that's what Keldon said. That's what Dev said. That's what Harrison Barnes said. They said that Chris Paul has been just a leader, that he has shown just by the ability to just be himself that, he is somebody that can help take this team to the next level. And that leadership is so huge. Because Gregg Popovich is one of the greatest coaches ever, right? But he can only do so much. It's all about that veteran leadership when trying to build up these young guys. And I think we have the right amount of young guys, a lot of first-round picks that are going to grow from Chris Paul. Now, my second thing, talking about Keldon Johnson, the second thing that I found very, very interesting is the transformation that Keldon Johnson has made. Keldon Johnson lost 15 to 20 pounds. And I know you look at that and be like, oh, why is that a good thing? Well, listen, Keldon Johnson is getting back to his playing shape when he was averaging 7 points a game, when he was on the perimeter, when the Spurs were a playing team. Remember, not too long ago, they had DeJounte Murray, and Keldon was their number 2 weapon, but he was playing on the perimeter, being able to shoot. He shot his highest shooting percentage. I think it was 47% from the field goal range, 40% from the three-point line. All that was at the perimeter. But remember, as Keldon's come in, he's had to move around a lot because they had to use him at the 4 a ton. Except for that season where we made into play-in, we didn't use Keldon as much as at the 4. We used him at the 3. But when Keldon's moved to the 4, he had to get bigger. I've seen it in real time, him having to go up and down a weight. Remember, I was with the Spurs during these years, and you've seen Keldon's body transformation. It's just being asked to do so much. It's asked to do things that, a normal 6'5" guy isn't being asked to do. He's asked to bang down there with 4s, and we've seen the 4s in this league. They're big, they're strong, they're fast, they can do all these things. And luckily, Keldon is such an athlete and so versatile that he can really guard the 1 through 4, which, Pop has leaned on a lot, but it's not really his natural position. He's really good at that 3 ball, being able to be on the perimeter, being able to drive, being able to isolate, being able to even get open shots. Keldon Johnson was averaging, 22 points before Victor got there. Granted, that was on a losing team, but then again, you look at that year before, averaging 17 on a playing team. With DeJounte Murray, it wasn't a great roster, but Keldon Johnson was the reason why we won a lot of those games. And you look at Keldon, and he talks about his weight journey. And he says, just being locked in. I feel like just being in shape, in the best shape possible, so that I can come in this season and hit the ground running. And of course, that's exactly what he's going to be asked to do. He's going to be asked to run. He's going to be asked to compete. He's going to be asked to jump into plays. He's going to be asked to do a lot of different things. And I really feel like he's capable of that. I mean, look at the numbers last year. They're kind of down numbers from the last few years. However, look at the way he was asked to play. He was starting in some games. He barely played other games. And to be even average 15.7 points, I'm telling you, Keldon Johnson is an asset. Even if he's a trade chip, I truly think Keldon Johnson is going to make a name for himself this year because you really need that perimeter guy around Victor. Devin Vassell is also another great guy, but if you can get Keldon and Dev to be those 2 perimeter guys that shoot, play defense, remember, Keldon can guard. He is a big guy. Even with losing this weight, he is a strong guy. And I'll just imagine the matchup nightmares where we have Chris Paul, Devin Vassell, and Keldon Johnson out there, then Victor at the 4 or the 5. I think it's things that will make you very, very excited about this team and should make you excited about this team. And Keldon Johnson just showing that he is a different build, shows that he is locked in, shows that whatever happened last season, he's left that behind, and now he is ready to compete. And Keldon has been one of those guys that does whatever Gregg Popovich asks. He's been asked to do so many different things. And I know a lot of fans are down on him after the season he had, but don't be. I'm telling you, this body transformation for Keldon is a big sign of what's to come, and also shows, again, to my point, these guys are ready to play playoff basketball. Every person you heard from, including Keldon, talked about playoff basketball. Keldon's seen it a little bit. He got to go into that play, and he knows what it's like to get kind of close to that promised land, and guys want it bad. Chris Paul wants it bad. Harrison Barnes wants another championship. Granted, we know these guys aren't going to be competing for a championship, but just to make it into the playoffs is huge because that is the type of experience you want Victor Wembanyama to have as he continues to progress. Now, speaking of Victor, another body transformation that we saw a lot of. It's not necessarily my third and final headline, but I think it goes right into what it will be. And Victor, made a lot of headlines. They said he gained about 25 pounds. Now, I don't know if that's completely true. I don't know, if he gained that much weight. It's very weird with height and weight in the NBA. However, it is noticeable that he is bigger. He is obviously a bigger guy. He looks stronger. I mean, even in the Olympics, he looks strong. He looks like he has gained weight. And I mean, that goes to my next point, that Victor, from that Olympics, he is so locked in. I don't know what losing to Team USA did for Victor, but it seems as if it has just unlocked something else, a monster. He didn't smile once during this press conference. And Victor's pretty much a chill guy, but he didn't smile once. He looked locked in. He looked annoyed. He looked upset. He looked like he didn't even want to have to really be there. He just wants to get to work. And he said it. He talked about the work he wants to get to. He talked about being a guy that can help this team. And this is what he says, the bottom line. I just focused on my actual responsibilities because I don't have any responsibilities to any of you, just for the guys in the locker room. And he pointed at the reporters in this. And a lot of people might be like, oh my gosh, why is he acting like that? But I love it. I love the hunger. I love the drive. He talked about the Olympics and getting able to play games that mattered. You heard guys say that a lot too. Jeremy Sochan, who was, his team didn't make the Olympics, but he got to compete overseas. He said it. Playing games that mattered, games that actually meant something, games that define a player, games that, you know what I'm saying, that if you lose, there's real implications to it. And these guys haven't got to do that yet. But if you're able to make it to the playoffs with these veterans, with these new pieces, with the development of your young guys that you already have, oh my goodness, seeing Victor in a game that actually matters. We saw what he was like in the Olympics. Imagine seeing him in a play-in setting where anybody can win, where it's winner take all, 1v1. I feel like the Olympics just made Wemby prime for that moment. And I think we're going to see him in that moment this season. We're going to see the Spurs in the play-in because of all of these different things I said. Victor Wembanyama is a man amongst boys. I mean, 21.4 and 10 rebounds in his rookie year. And this is without a premier point guard. This is without premier perimeter play. This is while all these other young guys, Jeremy Sochan, Blake Wesley, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, try to learn their roles. But I guarantee you, I think this team is locked in. I think these guys understand how important it is to rally behind Victor Wembanyama and help this team. And, if you watch those media days, I watched the whole hour plus of the stream, and it was exciting. It was great. You could see the bodies in there. You could hear just the energy, and you could hear the music playing. You could just see guys just different. Guys are in shape. I mean, the Spurs have one of the greatest practice facilities ever. They have some of the best player development ever. You see it in guys like Derek White and DeJounte Murray that have gone off to do great things after being with the Spurs, and guys that were on their G League team. So they were full-on development type players. So imagine now you got all of these first-round guys in here that are ready to compete, and then you add these role players and veterans like it teach these guys not only how to play, not only how to win, but how to be successful veterans in the NBA. Spurs family, there are so many exciting things on the horizon. Make sure you subscribe to us because Spurs Digest is growing so fast, and it's just because we want to give you content after content after content about how great your San Antonio Spurs are. Until next time, San Antonio Spurs family, I'm Bryan Colbert Jr. here with Spurs Digest. I'm out.